Hello and welcome to the second edition of the Walkie-Talkies. If you're not sure what a Walkie-Talkie is, you can check it out on the website of A Biosphere Project or on the YouTube channel. You can also, of course, subscribe there and hit the like button so you help me to reach a wider audience. So thank you. This time I'm walking in a park, beautiful old park in Antwerp, the city where I spend a large part of the year, and we're lucky to have parks like this in the city. City center has a very great shortage of trees, a shortage to which was added a couple of weeks ago with the cutting down of some very old trees, which was a really sad event, because we will need trees in the cities in the future very much, and parks and green areas to help cope with the rising temperatures, which will be felt even more in cities than in the countryside to some degree. So you may hear some city noises in the background as I talk. It's a bit windy also, so you might hear the wind. Some other sounds of civilization like leaf blowers or tractors are sometimes faintly audible in the distance. That's of course hard to avoid when you're in a big city. And since I live in the city a considerable part of the year, it will be hard to avoid that, or to go to places where there will be total silence and wild nature. I'm not so close to that. Some people might argue that parks are not even nature really, because they're kind of formed by humans to some extent. I would beg to differ. I think parks are nature indeed, and there are of course a lot of variations between totally wild nature, untouched by humans, and the totally manicured nature like gardens at Versailles. And then there is an infinite variety in between, and all of those varieties have their importance and their place, I think, for our coexistence with nature on this planet. So to say that a park is not nature, to my understanding, is not correct. Especially when you consider that some of the things we consider really wild nature, like the Amazon forest, were actually to some extent shaped by humans as well. It is known now that a considerable part of the Amazon was managed as a food forest, and that some of the varieties of plants that are found there were introduced or managed by humans. We also keep finding more and more ruins of huge cities in the Amazon. So it's hard to tell where wild ends and civilized begins, and it may be a distinction we need to get rid of to some extent, because that still assumes that we are separate from nature, that humans are not nature, and that whatever we do in nature is unnatural. So I think that's the thing to consider. We are nature also, and we can do stuff in nature and still have it be natural. I think it's one of the most important things we need to start understanding, that we are a part of nature, and we shouldn't see ourselves as a sort of evil outsider who, wherever he goes, just ruins everything. I think we need to see ourselves in a much more positive daylight. And then, of course, that might help to change our behavior. Someone who doesn't like him or herself is unlikely to be kind to his or her environment. So to appreciate ourselves as a part of nature is one of the things that we need to do. To love ourselves more even. And I think our aggression, I think you can call it that, our aggression towards nature in many places, which seems to be fueled even by a kind of, how shall I call it, a kind of absurd hatred almost in some cases, if you see what humans are doing in some places. I think that is fueled by a lack of self-appreciation really. And that's one of the points I will come back to quite often in a Biosphere Project, how we can change our view of ourselves, of humanity, as well as our views of nature, our environment. But there you go again. The term environment is one of the words that I would really like to get rid of. I'm actually compiling a list of words that I think we should stop using, at least for a couple of decades, because they have been abused or used too much, or we've lost track of their meaning, or they have begun to mean something which is not really appropriate or helpful for our understanding. The term environment indicates a separation between us and nature, like that we are something alien that landed here out of nowhere and then have no real relationship to it. And I think it's clear that we are an inextricably intertwined part of nature. As I said in my first walkie-talkie, there's no way to draw a boundary between ourselves and the organism we're a part of. The air is great here. And every time I'm here, I think I should come here even more often. And then I get distracted by a ton of other stuff, like so many among us. So, what I also wanted to address and start talking about a little bit is why and how I stopped my practice as a visual artist in order to start working on issues relating to the ecological crises and the meta-crisis, if you will. And some people were quite surprised by that. Why would an artist stop making art? And wouldn't that be the best thing to do in these circumstances? Doesn't the world need art? Yes, of course it does. And I don't think all artists should stop making art, far from it. But I also think that for me, it was a sort of calling. It was a decision that was quite hard to make. I've spent the better part of 2 years thinking about it, soul searching, and it was only after about 2 years that I could really say, okay, this is the step I need to take, and this is what will follow. And I think the reason why that for me was an appropriate step, and maybe not for other artists, is that what I was working on before in my paintings and drawings was already quite concerned with all the issues I'm working on now. And so that's quite a huge topic, really, which I cannot address in one walkie-talkie, because I do want to keep these sort of short, manageable. And I will come back to it in the coming walkie-talkie. So for now I would just want to indicate how what I was doing as a visual artist was to some degree already very much concerned with ecology, perception of the world, our ideas about the world, systems theory, metaphysics, and the way we kind of project a map onto reality, which is a very interesting topic in itself. We as humans have grown accustomed to maps, using maps, mental maps as well as physical maps, and our educational system really ingrains the use of maps from a very early age on. And after a while we begin to confuse the map with the terrain, like we begin to think that the map is more real than the actual environment. And this starts in school, really, or even before, but in school it becomes very outspoken. And the way I became aware of that again is when my own kids were going to school, and when I saw the handbooks, the school books, when they were in grade school and later on in high school. I saw the same kinds of maps that I had been introduced to or indoctrinated into when I was a kid. Nothing much had changed really in that respect. and the way in which children were introduced to the world was mostly through the use of concepts and maps. And I think that that is a big problem, really, because a child is accustomed to a direct experience of the world, much more than an adult is, and they're gradually trained out of that. I think by the time they are 12, that process has gone a long way already. By the time they're 18, it's nearly complete. And in many cases, the experience of the world will be almost continuously, unconsciously interpreted through maps and concepts. And we will project the map onto the world wherever we go, whatever we look at. And that is really an impoverishment, because the map will always be infinitely more crude and limited than the actual terrain or the actual place or the universe we look at, we live in. It's an interpretation that is so limited, in fact, that you could say it has, in essence, very little to do with our real existence and our real experience. So this is a short introduction to the ideas I was concerned with when I decided to trade painting for this new enterprise, this new project. And I will continue musing a little bit about it in the next Walkie-Talkie. I will continue walking in this park a little longer. It's really nice. You feel that summer is coming to an end. It's less warm, a little windy. So you feel the first hints of autumn in this park. And I'm kind of looking forward to it, because autumn is always a great thing after summer. The change of colors, falling leaves. So every season is great, really. And I will see you in the next Walkie-Talkie. Thank you for listening, watching, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below this video, and share the videos if you like them in your own network. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Namaste.